At this. This is a nice setting. Okay. Hello, everybody. Let me just see. There's already people in the chat. There's already people here. What we need to do is I need to check, is the microphone picking up my voice? So as soon as somebody can hear me, then please let me know. If you can't hear me, then you probably don't want asking this question. So just let me know in the chat if there's any problems with the sound. But yes, we are here to talk about English and your English problems. And I put a question onto Instagram asking people what they struggle with, what's their most difficult part of English. And I did get some questions. I've got some questions to go through. So as soon as people come into the chat, yes, excellent. I can hear you fine. Party in Taiwan from Jeju Den, and gaming is cool. I can hear you fine. Gaming is cool. Is that who I think it is? Let me just double check. I think that's somebody. Yeah, okay, gaming is cool. I know who you are, and it's very nice to have you in the chat. So, is it frozen? Oh no, it's okay. Gaming is cool is my son William, and it's his birthday tomorrow. So we're super excited to celebrate that. Although we're going to celebrate together in December when he comes here. So if you have any questions about English, put them into the chat down below or on the side, wherever the chat is, and then I'll do my best to use my English teaching style to help you understand your question or fix your question. This live stream is more of an opportunity for me to connect with you guys and get to keep in touch, because I know my videos have not been I've not been very frequent recently. It takes me a little bit longer to edit a video with my condition, but no big deal. So I think what we'll do is I'll explain the plan for this live stream. I've got it all written down on my computer here, so excuse me a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some questions that I've been asked from Instagram. I've put the questions into different sections. So the first questions are based around grammar and vocabulary. Then I also got some questions about pronunciation. Taiwanese people really care about pronunciation. Then something about conversational English, and then culture and confidence issues. Confidence is a big thing. Confidence is something that I talk a lot about in my English course that I'm sure you've all heard about this week. I've been selling it every single day, probably annoying people a little bit too much, but I really want people to take advantage of the $9.99 special price for August, because as of tomorrow, no more super early bird price. It's going to be going, the price is going up tomorrow, eventually we'll go to the full price. So don't forget, if you have any questions, put the questions in the chat. If I can do my best, I'll help you solve your English problems. All good? Excellent. Right, we've got lots of people in the chat, so let me just quickly go through and see what people are saying. Jeju Dan is asking, was I just with William in Japan? No, I was not just in Japan with William. That was last year, but I filmed the video and didn't release it. I was going to use it as members only content, but I feel like we had such a good time and wanted to share so much with everybody that I put it on the main channel video, on the main channel as a full video. So no, I wasn't just in Japan with William, but I will be in Taiwan with William in December, or the end of December and January. Okay, we've got our first question from the chat from Sorlon saying, I want to know how to engage in small talk. Small talk is something my adult students always want to know more about, because British people are, in my humble opinion, British people are the champions of small talk. We can make a conversation out of anything. We'll use our sense of humor, our sarcasm, and in fact, the first lesson in the English teaching course, which is available at the link in the description down below, the second lesson after the introductory lesson is about small talk and how to improve your small talk. And it's not about learning any really crazy difficult vocabulary. What I find is there's a secret formula to small talk, which I go into in the course, and it helps you avoid any awkward, embarrassing situations. I find when I have a conversation with a Taiwanese person that I don't really know, or it's like a small talk conversation, Taiwanese people, generally speaking, I'm not stereotyping, but Taiwanese people don't know how to end the conversation. They can maybe negotiate and manage the conversation itself, but when it comes to an end, Taiwanese people can sometimes be a little bit, or feel a little bit rude, a little bit awkward, and it can often be a very funny ending to a conversation when you just say, okay, bye, which is not the way to end a small talk conversation. Some topic. I don't want to tell you too much, because then I'm giving away the free. I'm giving away the course content for free. But yeah, basically, small talk is all about just being polite, friendly, and not getting too deep, not getting too personal. We often engage in small talk with people at the bus stop, on the bus, in a taxi maybe. The taxi driver is often a good opportunity to have some small talk in the UK, although British taxi drivers will probably get a little more deep and political than just staying on the small talk topic. Another very important part of small talk is don't get too personal. Don't ask too many questions like, what's your salary? Are you married? Are you single? Like, all of these questions are a little bit too personal for small talk. So yeah, small talk is covered in lesson 2 of my English teaching course, which is available at the link in the description down below. Someone says, okay, I want to know how to engage in small talks. I really like how you say engage in small talks, because engage is quite a high level word. So you've obviously done some reading, done some studying regarding how to talk about small talk. So yeah, we engage in small talk. So engage means to take part in or do. So that's also a very good way to use the word engage. Jane Tai, is that Jane Tai? I'm not sure of your Chinese character. I'm interested in slang. Yes, slang is very unique. No, not unique, but British slang and American slang are incredibly different. And in the course, in lesson 7 or 8, I think, one of the lessons, we cover in depth British slang, because if a British person speaks in 100% slang, then it makes absolutely no sense. Not to mention the fact that the UK has different accents, different vernaculars, different vocabularies according to where you live. For example, if you go very north up to Newcastle and Scotland, then you'll get completely different words. The word for baby is burn, B-A-I-R-N, burn, and the word for small is wee, W-E-E. So a Scottish person would tell you, I have a new wee burn. Now, a new wee burn means I have a new little baby. But if you don't understand this slang, then you've got no chance of communicating if someone is speaking in 100% slang. But to be honest, not everybody speaks in 100% slang. People will just drop in the occasional word. Maybe I can give you a test. Maybe I can ask you an example. So if I tell you it's a dog's dinner, my class was a dog's dinner. 我的英文科是狗的晚餐。What would that mean? What would that mean if I said it was a dog's dinner? Maybe you can comment down below. Interested in slangs. And Aussie as well. Aussie English is a little bit different to British English. It's probably Australian English is more closely related to British English than American English. But again, it's its very own specific accent and vocabulary. I'm trying to think of an example word in Australian English that's different. The dunny, the D-U-N-N-Y. I'm going the dunny would be I'm going to the toilet, the bathroom. The same in New Zealand. I think dunny would be the word used for bathroom. So again, in my English course, the British English course, we won't be talking so much about Aussie English. It's more about the difference between the it's more about the difference between the American English that Taiwanese people use or are taught generally, and how to adapt to or get along a little bit better with British English that you maybe didn't learn in school. I don't know why Taiwanese English is so American focused. I guess I do know why. It's probably because of the influence of Hollywood and maybe in was it the 50s or the 60s during the Vietnam War? A lot of American soldiers were based here for their rest and relaxation time. So American culture and American influence is more prevalent than British culture in Taiwan. So that also applies to the language. One thing I do want to mention about British English and American English is I feel like Taiwanese, someone just said because of American shows like Friends. I have a friend whose English she learned completely from watching the TV show Friends. And I think there's a lot of Taiwanese people that have done this not with Friends, but with some other TV show. But yeah, one thing I want to ask you guys is I feel like most Taiwanese people either are more British influenced or more American influenced. When you ask a Taiwanese person if they've been overseas, oh, is that Jane Lin? Okay, hi Jane. When you ask a Taiwanese person if they've been overseas, they've usually either been to America and not been to Europe, or they've been to Europe and not been to America. You tend to find Taiwanese people choose one or the other. Probably more of them prefer to go to America. But yeah, I do find that there's like a pro-Europe, pro-England movement, and then a pro-American movement. So I'll be interested to know what you are. Are you more into American culture or more into British and European culture? Of course, you're watching this live stream with 英国叔叔, so maybe maybe you're more into British culture than American culture. Just give me a second. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to some of the questions I got from Instagram, and we're going to start with the first question. Somebody asked, what's the difference between say and tell. This is a great question because I do often, with some basic English learners, they will often use the word say when what they mean to say is tell. So I say you, or maybe they will directly translate from Chinese, I give you say, or I say for you, but actually they should use tell. And the answer for me is basically you say something out, but you tell someone something. So if you're just speaking out, if you're just saying, it's a nice day today, then that's something you would say. If you directly tell someone, maybe someone in a different country, you say, it's a nice day today, and you're talking to someone, then that's telling. That's the difference between say and tell. Okay, I've just got a really good question from Sorlon. British slang is pretty useless out of Britain, don't you think? Well, it depends on what your definition of useless is, because surely to be able to speak in a beautiful, more interesting, colorful way is not useless. Because I have some American friends, and I still use British slang when I speak to my American friends. I'll still say, it's raining cats and dogs, or this beer is the bee's knees, which are very British influenced slang terms. And my American friends maybe won't use them, but that's my way of expressing myself. It's my way of my artistic impression, or my artistic license to speak more beautifully. If we all spoke exactly the same with exactly the same words, and then language wouldn't be beautiful. I really think language is an art form that we can use to express ourselves and our intelligence and our feelings and emotions. So I don't think British slang is useless outside of Britain. I think it allows me to identify myself and express myself. But it's a good question. I don't want to argue with you, but I do think that British slang is quite is useful because it allows you to express yourself. I've said that 5 times now. So so we're back to some of the questions. So I hope I explained the difference between say and tell. This one is a great question. I'll come to the TOEFL in a second. I'm just going to read this question. Somebody asked, can we use since and for the same way? This is a massive, common, regular made mistake when someone is using to talk about something that happened in the past. Since is, if you imagine a timeline, then since is just since one point on that timeline. So I've been in Taiwan since 2008. So just from that time. If you're talking about moving along the timeline, then we use for. So I've been in Taiwan since 2008. I've been in Taiwan for 17 years. So the 17 years is the length of time. The since is just the specific time on the timeline. Prosy always mocks your slangs. Yeah, we have a funny story about, what was it? We were talking about having a fender bender. Now, a fender bender is like when you just bump your car a little bit, like a small 小车祸, like a small accident. And I was asking Prosy if he guessed what we call it, what British people call it, because fender bender is an American expression, and in England we actually call it a prang, P-R-A-N-G, prang. But when I asked Prosy, I said, do you know what we call a fender bender? And he was like, oh, you probably call it something stupid like an oogly googly, which made us laugh very heartily. But then it stuck. So whenever I have a prang or I bump my scooter or my car, and I tell Prozzy, I'll say that I had an oogly googly this morning, and only me and Prozzy know the meaning of oogly googly. So just an interesting little story for you there. Okay, let's see what Megwar Susu's got to say. British English is used a lot in Hong Kong and India. I think Taiwan uses American English because the US helped rebuild Taiwan, I guess helped rebuild Taiwan after World War II. Yeah, I think there's a lot more Americans based in Taiwan than there was British people or Australian people. So, okay, someone's just commented they can't comment on my live. There's something wrong with it. Okay, Lucas, don't worry, I can read your comments when you send them through message. So if you have anything to answer, then just let me know. To ask, sorry. Okay, so we've covered a couple of grammar and vocabulary questions. So we've covered the difference between say and tell, the difference between since and for. I did get a question about pronunciation. I struggle to pronounce a world. Yeah, okay, that's a difficult one for a lot of second language speakers in English. Now, if I say this word in my native English accent, where I come from in Liverpool or just outside Liverpool, then we would say world. So the sound is very different. If you were speaking in a very neutral British accent, you would say world, world. But where I come from, we say world. The world's gone mad is a very Liverpool accent, not very British, not very neutral British English. But yeah, that's a good one. I think a lot of Taiwanese people struggle to get their tongue around the R, so they'll often say world, world, which is a little bit, well, it's very American. American people love the letter R. That's a big difference between British English and American English, is the R sound is very hard. Oh, Topher is really supporting. I love it. Thanks, bro. So you can see an American person versus a British person with the way that they say R. So for example, I'm driving my car. Car is an American way of talking about it. If it was a British person, depending on where they come from in the UK, then they're more likely to say car, car, without the rolled R. They wouldn't have the R at the end of the letter. So again, world is the British pronunciation. World would be more American. And there's nothing wrong with American English. It's a very valid accent and very popular around the world. Around the world. But just for British pronunciation is a little bit different. So why is my pronunciation so Taiwanese? This is something that really bugs me, really gets my goat, to use a British slang. Is the Taiwanese people always want to sound American or sound British, or they don't want to sound Taiwanese. And I don't really think that that's a big problem. If your accent is so strong that we cannot understand the English, yes, then maybe you need to have some elocution lessons or pronunciation lessons. But there's nothing wrong with being a Taiwanese person that speaks English with a Taiwanese accent. My Chinese is so British, is so okay, I'll come to that in a second, Topher. So when I speak Chinese, the Taiwanese people will mimic me and copy me and say like, ni hao, and ni hao ma, and they will kind of like speak in a little bit mimic, mocking, joking, teasing me, which is something I can't do. If I speak English in a Chinese or Taiwanese accent, I'd be cancelled for being racist or xenophobic. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with sounding a little bit Taiwanese. Like I say, if you feel that your accent is preventing you from being understood, then yeah, you may need to polish up a little bit on your pronunciation. And the best way to polish up your pronunciation or to get your pronunciation more American or more British is just by listening, repeating, mimicking. So listen to an English-speaking podcast. A friend of mine, she has to drive a lot from Taipei to Taichung, and when she drives, she listens to a podcast and she tries to keep up with what they're saying, like 1 second behind the podcast speakers is she will repeat after what they say and mimic the flow and mimic the tone of the speakers, and just practice makes perfect. And yeah, but don't worry too much about your Taiwanese accent. Focus more on the vocabulary, sentence structure, and actually just speaking out, just making, just communicating is much more important than sounding like an American or a Brit, in my opinion. And that's what this is all about. This is all about my opinion. Topher mentioned something about his dad or something. Some Americans add R to words. My dad says wash instead of wash. Okay, so they even just put R's into words that don't even exist. Which proves my point. Proves my point that Americans love the can you call it the hard R? Is that not just specific to one word, but yeah, the hard R. Can you sound French speaking English? Yes, this is my point. If you speak to, or if you watch, my example I often use when talking about this is when I watch the football games, or the interviews after the football, and you'll see a French footballer or a Spanish footballer talking about the game using perfect English or very good English, but they sound, you can obviously tell they're from Spain, you can obviously tell they're from Italy, and it's actually quite attractive for a lot of people. A lot of people think it's kind of endearing or sexy if a guy speaks or a woman speaks for English with a French accent. I do know that Ku, my French friend, he has a really British sound to his English, and I think he practiced this. He studied this, and he spent some time in England. And it's possible to change your accent to become more British or native sounding, but there's nothing wrong with speaking English and sounding French or Spanish. So yeah, we got a hi, Alan from Vivian. Hi. Okay, Sorlon asks, why is British English often spelled in different ways? Like aeroplane, color, center, it doesn't sound like how it's spelled. Okay, we're gonna get stuck into one very important mistake that American people use when talking about airplanes. Aeroplane is from the word, it's from the Latin for wind, I think, or air, because aero is the shape of the wing. It uses aerodynamics, which is how it flies. It's nothing to do with air because it's in the air, like an airplane. That was just a very, very much an oversimplification of the word aeroplane, because if you say quickly aeroplane, then it sounds like airplane. So that's a perfect example of why American people change the spelling. And also, to answer your question more generally, why British English is spelled differently to American English, because English was developed over hundreds, thousands of years, and it has so many different influences. You have some words that come from Europe, from French, from Ireland, from Gaelic, from Latin. Like a lot of the fundamental rules of English are based in Latin. So the words are just taken from other languages. The perfect example of why we use certain spellings or certain words is if you think about the word beef. Now, beef is just cow meat, but we don't say cow because when the language was developing, and when we first were introduced to the concept of eating cows, it was only rich people and the royal family that could afford to eat cow meat. And most of the rich and influential people in England at that time were French. And a cow in French is le bœuf or bœuf. So we just use the French word for the animal when it's being eaten as meat. So and then, okay, if you look at the other example of chicken, like chicken is chicken in English, and the meat, oh, I'm getting so confused. The animal is the chicken, and the meat is also chicken, because we would eat chickens more commonly than we would eat cows, because we couldn't afford to eat cows when the French people were in control of England. So yeah, my point on that long meandering example. My point is to tell you that the English is influenced by many different languages. And then when English people took it to America, it got kind of lost in translation. There's some simplifications were made. So there's no need for a U in the word color, for your example. And then favorite, all the OUs and OUR was dropped to be OR because it's unnecessary to have it, but it's just that's the way that we had it when we invented the language. Okay, Ron Painter has a question in the chat. What word do you use for midday meals, lunch or dinner? Evening meals, dinner or tea? I come from the north of England, so we have brekkie, breakfast, dinner at 12 o'clock, and tea at 6 o'clock. If you go to the south, then it's more likely to be breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Or if you're very posh and very high level, then it's maybe you would say supper for your evening meal, because it depends on the class level of the person who's speaking. My mouth is getting so dry. Sorry, excuse me. I'm just going to have a drink. We can chill. We can relax. We don't have to be too professional here. Nice. Okay, so let's get back to some questions from Instagram that got asked. Okay, so I answered the question about the Taiwanese pronunciation. Don't worry about it. Okay, this person has a really good point, and it's a little bit related to small talk. I don't know how to continue a conversation after hello. What should I do? Yes. Where's my chat? I don't know how to start a conversation after saying hello. This is not so much about language. This is about personality and having the confidence and the is it charisma, charmingness to be able to hold a conversation. And maybe even if you're speaking Chinese as a Taiwanese person, maybe if you struggle to have small talk in English, then maybe you're the kind of person that also struggles to have small talk in Chinese. So it's a little bit related to personality more than language. But if I was to give you some examples, there's like 3 or 4 topics which are very much go-to topics. The weather, how's your day so far? What you've got planned for the weekend? And I did have another one on the tip of my tongue. Weather, how's your day? Weekend plans. If the other one comes to me, I'll think about it. But in England, nice day today. Yep, that's the perfect small talk ignition starting point. Or a bit chilly, it's a bit cold. All of these examples in my English course in lesson 2 are all there. The formula, I came up with a formula, a secret formula to small talk, which allows you to avoid the awkward feeling or the awkward embarrassment of having a conversation. Because if someone just says hello, then what comes next is completely up to the individual. If you just say hello and the other person says hello, then there's that awkward feeling of, well, what's next? So you have to have some pre-prepared phrases or sentences or go-to topics that we would talk about. I think small talk is an amazing thing. Other people can't stand it. I know that some people don't care about other people. Why would I care about how that person's day is? Why do I care about sharing the weather with or talking about the weather with someone? It's very down to personality. I'm going to sum it up with that one. We have a question in the chat from Toki Fong. I often hear someone either in the UK and Australia say right or right. Oh, say right or all right as righto before doing something. What's the difference between them? Good question. Righto is very British. It's very it's kind of like, I don't know if you're Taiwanese and what language you speak, Toki Feng, but if you speak Chinese, it's just like saying hawa, hawo, haola. It's just your personality coming into your language. We can say righto, righto. Righto sounds very British. Or rightio, rightio, just adding a suffix to, like adding a suffix to the word just to add a little bit of personality, make it a little bit cuter, make it a little bit softer and more friendly. You can, of course, just say right, all right, but this is this is very basic and simple. And there's no personality to saying right or all right. Adding rightio, righto, just makes it a bit more, a bit cuter, a bit nicer. Joy Chen, nice, Joy Chen. I've bought your class already. Cannot wait. Yes, I noticed, Joy. I think I've been messaging the people that have already bought the class. I've been very, what's the word? I feel so thankful to anybody that has already bought the class at the early bird price. I just gave a couple of weeks of a cheaper price just for people that maybe you have to wait a little bit longer before the course is published. So I reward you with a slightly early, discounted price. And I feel people really trust me. I feel humbled that people have signed up to the class. They've only seen a couple of minutes of promotional videos, a couple of examples of the way I teach. And yeah, Joy, you're one of the people, and I think I messaged you online to say thank you for adding the class. And I'm getting lots of feedback through line of people that have signed up for the class, and they're super looking forward to it. So your question is, oh, how about business English and the English used for work? Yes, I forget which lesson it is, but one of the lessons, one of the classes, I'm going to find it now. Lesson 6. Lesson 6 is all about office English and work English at work, because again, I feel like Taiwan has a lot of people that work in international trade companies, businesses that have overseas departments, or co-workers that come to visit from international companies, and you need to speak English with these people. Not many foreigners are going to speak Chinese. So how do you negotiate these conversations? This is something I go into in detail in lesson 6, where I can help you come up with some ideas of what to say and what other coworkers might say to you, and how to reply and how to respond. Most of the course is, of course, you're going to learn new vocabulary, new phrases and new sentences and new things to use, but it's also cultural. It's a lot of what I talk about in the course is the culture of English language and how we use language a little bit differently to Taiwanese people. And at work, there's a different culture to using English compared to out with your friends, or on a first date, or in the supermarket with asking for help, this kind of thing. There's different cultures to English, and I try to encourage people to adapt their English according to the situation that they're in. So office English, or business English, as Joy says, is a very important part of the course. So if you're interested, I'm not going to give you the hard sell. If you're interested in signing up for the course, we have 2 hours and 3 minutes of the early bird price of 999 NT. So link is in the description. Register and get yourself signed up, because we only have 2 weeks before it goes live. First lesson goes live on the 15th of September, and then there's going to be 9 lessons in total, and then the final lesson will actually be a Zoom class where everyone can come together and learn, review, ask questions, and study the course material together, and ask me for any help. So yeah, that's in. I think I'm going to stop talking about the course now. Let's just get stuck into some English questions. Okay, just said we're going to stop talking about it, and Topher asks, Alan, does your course include romantic English pickup lines? Actually, not directly. I think small talk covers a lot of the chat up lines, the pickup lines. I mean, we can talk about some pickup lines now if you want to, Topher. Maybe you can give me your best pickup line. My favorite is Joy Chen says, good question. She wants to learn more about that. Yeah, we can do it now. We can study English chat up lines. My favorite is you ask a girl or a guy, excuse me, do you know how much does a polar bear weigh? And they will say, no, probably. And you say, neither do I, but it breaks the ice, meaning that the polar bear is heavy enough to break the ice. Now, in Chinese, let me try it in Chinese. 不好意思，你知道北极熊是多重？My Chinese is so bad. 不好意思，你知道北极熊是多重？他说不知道。I said 我也不知道，但是可以破冰了。I just got a big boo from Vivian. Is that a boo for the pickup line? in general or my Chinese? So the class is on weekdays, online, live. No, the class is, I did get a couple of questions when I first published it about how the class is going to be taught. The class is of online video, pre-recorded online videos where I give you the course content that you can then watch at your own leisure, at your own pace. And then the 10th class is online and live. So yeah, I was very clear with that on the Instagram and YouTube short that I put, because I want people to know exactly how it's going to be formatted. Someone said so cheesy. Yeah, cheesy is definitely my my go-to theme if I'm trying to talk to someone new. Let's see if I can find some cheesy pickup lines. Okay, I've just searched ChatGPT for some cheesy, funny pickup lines. This is one that I've seen on Instagram. Is, do you like raisins? 你喜欢葡萄干？干葡萄？你喜欢葡萄干？ Okay, do you like raisins? How about a date? Oh, I don't know what is date in Chinese. Whoops, I shouldn't have started in Chinese. So a date is a dried fruit. A raisin is a dried fruit, but a date is also 也会. So it's like asking for a date. Not bad. Another one that I think I've probably used this, but I use it as a joke with a sense of humor and a bit of a smile. Are you okay? Did it hurt? And the girl will say, what did what hurt? And I'll say, when you fell from heaven. Yep, that's something I would genuinely use. Topher gave us one of his. Okay, this one's like a very confident pickup line. Are you famous? Why do I recognize you? Oh, it's because you look like my next girlfriend. Not bad, not bad. Jim Huang says, without the subtitles, I think I learned more to listening, understand. Okay, yeah, I can't put subtitles on a live stream. 我直播的话不能加字幕，因为没有不是剪片的，是直播，所以不好意思，我没有办法加字幕。How many days can we rewatch the pre-recorded videos? The pre-recorded videos are yours to keep. You'll have a link to each video that is your link for you to watch forever. You can watch them as much as you want, and I advise people to do that. I advise people to watch it with subtitles, and to cover the subtitles is also an option, because can help you improve your listening, and if you watch without subtitles, it will help you improve your listening. So yeah, the videos are all there are yours to keep once you've registered. They'll be fully yours. You pays the money, you get the product, so it's yours. So is it okay? We've read that question. Okay, let's get back to some questions. Okay, this is a good one. Someone asked, what's a polite way to say no to a friend or colleague? No, well, I wonder what their meaning is. Are they saying no in general, or are you saying no to a date, or no to some kind of romantic? I'm not too sure. Does it help if I keep your course running when sleeping? Yes. That's what I do with podcasts. Podcasts often get me to sleep. So if somebody wants to buy my course and use it as a method to get to sleep, perfect. You can do whatever you want with my course. You can use it for whatever benefit you think it's possible to use it for. What question was I up to? Oh yeah, how to say no. And Toki Fong just said, just say no. Yes, this is true. You can just say no. So if somebody says, can you help me? I don't know. Can you help me write an email to the boss? If you don't want to do it, of course you can just say no. But I think the question is more about what's the more polite way to say no. And what you tend to use is you would use more conditional verbs. I would like to, but I can't. I would love to, but I can't. Or give a reason why you're saying no. I'm a little bit busy at the moment. Or I don't have time at the moment. Or could you ask me later is another option, which is probably going to just delay the question. But I think that's what they're saying. To say no is depends on what the question is for. If someone is asking you on a date and you really don't want to go, then of course you just say no. Sorry, no. But then, if you want to be a little bit more polite, maybe if someone asks you out on a date and you say, "Oh, I'm really flattered. Thanks for asking, but I'll pass this time." I've probably heard that a few times. I'll pass this time is something that I've definitely heard a few times when asking people for something. Okay, next question. I feel shy speaking English because I'm afraid of mistakes. How can I improve my confidence? Watching this live stream, I've probably made 5 or 10 small mistakes with maybe some grammar or sentence structure and sentence pattern while I'm not really following a script. I'm just speaking naturally and normally. I'm changing my mind halfway through what I'm saying to take the answer to a different direction. So you'll find that will make mistakes. And if you're worried about making mistakes, then you're on the right path because you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You're trying to use words that maybe you've never used before or sentence structures that you've never used before. If everybody just stayed within their level, then you'll never improve. You have to make mistakes. And you laugh it off. If you make a really silly, dumb mistake, then you just laugh and say, "Oh my God, why did I say that?" Or what was I thinking when I said, I'm trying to think of some funny examples. I can't think of any examples right now, but just make the mistakes and move on from it. One thing I do try not to do is if I'm speaking to a Taiwanese person that's speaking English, is I try and avoid correcting their mistakes and saying, what did you say? Why did you say that? You should say this. I understand that people are speaking my language in their country, so I give them a lot of time or a lot of opportunity to speak freely without correcting them. But if I'm in a class situation or teaching someone and they make the same mistake 3 or 4 times, then I'll make a note of this mistake, and then at the end of the class, I'll remind them. You mentioned you didn't pronounce the word computer correctly. Computer. Whatever the mistake is. I just had a student recently on an online class where she didn't know the difference between N and M, and I just reminded her that you have to close your mouth when saying the letter M, and that's at the end of the lesson. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. It's all part of learning. It's the same with any skill or any pastime or hobby or language. You're going to make mistakes. Just get over it and keep moving forwards. Somebody asked about the course. Okay, I'm going to keep coming back to the course. Sorry. Is your course okay for beginners? Yeah, I think if you know zero English, then you maybe need to watch many times and maybe focus more on the key or the more basic words. It's designed for people that already speak English but maybe are afraid to speak out, or maybe people that have learned English in high school 10, 20, 30 years ago and then have kind of not used it and they need to refresh their English. It's made for people that just want to boost many different areas of their English ability. So a general improvement in your English, then that's what it's designed for. I wouldn't say it's designed for kids. It's more about life as an adult. So things like business English, work English, small talk with strangers at the office or at the bus stop, which is not really what kids are learning. Kids are learning more about the basics in communication. So probably not for kids, but definitely okay for many different levels of English. And as I said, it's more about culture of language as well as the actual content itself. Let me see what we've got in the chat. How many days can we do? Okay, we had that one. Sometimes I say no problems. Yeah, I think that was regarding how to say no to somebody, and just saying no problems. That reminds me of no, is it not a chat up line? It's when I'm trying to talk about myself and I say, I'm so pretty. And then I can then say, yeah, pretty ugly. So you can change the meaning of a word halfway through a sentence. And I think that's what you're doing there with no problem. So that's actually saying yes. But yeah, I get your point. Okay. Many Chinese don't speak natively for the words of can and can't. Can you speak here again? Okay, excellent. Can and cannot. That's the easiest way. If you really want to be understood, don't say can't. And again, that's using American English, because if you use British English, then the pronunciation changes completely. You would say I can swim. But if you're using British English, it's can't for cannot. I can swim, I can't swim. So with British English, it's a little bit easier to differentiate. But with the American English, the easiest way to be understood is to say I cannot, and don't say can't. Because it has to be very obvious if you're saying can't. Because a lot of Taiwanese people, they don't ending a word with a consonant is not very often in Taiwan. In fact, the only sound that ends with a consonant is like an N sound. So can and can't often gets confused between the two of each other. Is that Mr. Chen or Miss Chen? I can't see the photo. Chen. How can I join the class? Right, the class, there's a link in the description, right? If you look underneath the video, there's a link to a Google form where you can register, fill out your details, and you've still got almost 2 hours to take advantage of the $999 super early bird price. So take advantage of it right now if you want to. Feel free. Yeah, the link is in the description down below. And then when you fill out the form, you'll send me your contact details and I'll get in touch with you through Line. And then when the course starts, I'll distribute the links and the login details for the course when it goes live September 15th. Okay, someone says, is that Zhou, Miss Zhou? But how to understand when others say can or can't? Well, if you misunderstand, if you don't hear clearly, if you don't perfectly understand what they said, I often have to do this with certain words and phrases in English that Taiwanese people speak. For example, when someone says numbers like 14 and 15, I'll say 14 or 40. And I'll be very clear and obvious and say that I didn't understand what you said, or I misheard what you said. So if somebody says, I can't swim, and you truly didn't understand, then you will say, I will use physical body language and say, you can swim or you cannot swim, in this kind of very obvious, clarifying method. Because if you don't understand, if someone said can or cannot, can or can't, then you just have to be clear. You have to ask and get them to say. Sorlan says, is there a key out background in the course, like those old English classes in VHS tapes? No, I don't think so. I'm not too sure what you mean. The course is normal video. I'm not too sure of what you mean by key out background. Maybe this was something I missed when I was in school, but yeah, the course is just there's no key out background. We've been going over an hour, so I'm going to wrap up soon. I think an hour is enough. I'm just going to check my Instagram to see if we've had any more questions. How do I know when to use the and a? What's that? Okay. How do I know what the difference between the and a or an is? Oh my goodness! I've taught this so many times to my students in Bushiban. There's a simple way of looking at it. The is, we know what thing you're talking about. Everybody in the conversation knows what we're talking about. So, for example, the sun in the sky. Everybody knows that the sun. So we don't need to call it a sun. If I see a dog in the park and I want to tell my friend, now my friend doesn't know about the dog yet. So I would say, I saw a dog in the park. So because she doesn't know about the dog yet, then we would say a dog, because it's a random dog. And if the conversation continues, she will, because she now knows about the dog, she will say, what color was the dog? Or was the dog cute? Or what was the dog doing? So the first time we mention something, then we use a. I saw a dog. I saw a person. There was a crazy guy in school yesterday. Once we've established who we're talking about or what we're talking about, then we change it to the. So if everyone knows about what we're talking about, then we use the. Did I explain that very well? Not too sure. Okay. Let me go back to the chat. I saw someone had a question about B1, B2, C2. How can I join the class? How do I understand when others say can or can't? Is there, okay. Hi, Alan. Any learning advice for learners who has already reached B2 level of English? I feel it's so difficult to reach C1. Ooh, okay. I'm trying to think, what's the difference between B2 and C1? I don't really judge people based on B1, B2, C2. What's the difference between B2 and C1? Let's do some research live in the moment. What's the difference between B2 and C1 English? Oh my goodness, too much information. Okay, let's just go with my answer rather than a generic Google answer. the only way to improve from B2 to C1 or even from A1 up to A2 is practice, and not just practice speaking, but try to think, try to live in English as much as you can. B2 is upper intermediate, C1 is advanced. C1 advanced, I'll tell you something, I think a lot of British people or native English speakers are probably not even C1. I've had some conversations, and I'm not saying I'm incredibly intelligent or incredibly above these people, but to live a normal, basic, simple life in England or in America, your English doesn't have to be advanced. Your English just has to be fluent and native. And you know, if I have a conversation with a rocket scientist about his job, then C1 is nearly to get GCSE level C or above. Okay. Right, so C1 is to get GCSE level C. Then this is definitely a lot of English people don't qualify for C1, because a lot of English people will fail English GCSE. Not a lot, but a considerable amount of people will fail English GCSE, because you don't need to have a very high level of English to live every day in England. My example I was just talking about was if I'm talking to a rocket scientist, then I probably don't understand what the hell he's talking about. Okay, here's my theory on English and how it matters what your background is. Because if a lion and a rabbit could both speak English, the conversation they would have, neither would understand what they're really talking about, because their experiences and their life is so different. A rabbit lives a very different life to a lion. Does this make sense? I sound like a crazy person when I talk about this, but I'm sure it makes sense to me. So, you know, a rocket scientist talking to a homeless, unemployed person, probably their lives are so different that they don't really understand each other's individual experiences. So they really wouldn't communicate very well. What am I talking about? What was the question? How to get from B2 to C1 is to have C1 level conversations. Listen to high level podcasts or radio shows or TV shows. YouTube is an amazing, abundant source of the most niche, specific videos in English that you can watch. So find something that you find interesting and watch videos about it, and boost your English input. Just keep learning. More and more going in means more and more coming out. I remember I went to a course, a seminar once for some textbooks that some guy was selling, and he had a really interesting theory that English is all about input, and if you put the input into your ears and into your eyes, it's going in and in and in. And if you imagine your body filling up from your feet with English, you're filling up your body like filling up a car with gas, you're filling up with English, then it takes a long time before it gets to your mouth and can come out. But once it comes out, then it's more fluent, more native, more, because you've had that huge level of input, and that applies to going from B2 to C1, because you need to input with more C1, C2 English before you can speak it out. My goodness, I hope I'm not sounding like an idiot, like a rambling idiot. Okay, TL says, great job. Maybe throw in a Mandarin comparison to explain the similarities or differences. A Mandarin comparison about the lion and the rabbit? Let's try. 如果一个狮子跟一只狮子跟一只兔子，两个 都会讲英文，他们听不懂他们的对话。I can't believe I'm putting this on the internet, my terrible Chinese on the internet for thousands of people to judge. But yeah, that's my Mandarin comparison. Topher says many, maybe most Americans don't speak at C1, but use a lot of slang. Yeah, so this is what I said earlier about I don't really judge people or grade people on their B2, C1, or whatever level, because that's just a score of I don't know how to say it. That's like a scientific way of measuring English, whereas English is not scientific. English is artistic. So, like Topher says, there's many Americans and British people too, I also admit, that don't speak with a high level of English, but very natural, very native, lots of slang. They understand all of the idioms and the phrases. And if they were to sit down and write a test of their level, they'd probably be at B2, B1, because they don't understand what is a subject, an object, and a verb, or an adjective, or a conjunction. My English was, of course, I studied English in school and went to university and got a degree, but a lot of Taiwanese people, or my co-teachers when I was teaching in the Bushy Band, they would ask me, Teacher Alan, what goes after the subject in a conditional clause phrasal sentence? And I'd be like, I don't know. I really don't know. But give me the sentence and I'll tell you which one is right and which one is wrong. So that's our benefit as native speakers, that we can just know that something's right and wrong, but we don't actually know. Well, I know now because I've been a teacher for 12 years, but before I came to work as a teacher, I wouldn't know how to answer these questions of like, what's the rules for verbs and subjects and all of these difficult grammatical things. So yeah, what was my point? Yeah, I think my point is, if you truly want to go from B2 to C1, then you have to study C1 things and study it like an exam. But for me, my course is more about the culture and the artistic nature of language and how you can just become more confident and culturally aware of different things to say in English language. Topher has some advice where he says, read interesting books or listen to audiobooks. Yeah, definitely, like just as much input as you can get. And it takes dedication. It's not easy. You have to dedicate yourself to learning English, and don't just expect it to just fall into your head. You have to actively go and find different inputs and different sources to help you improve. So yeah. Someone says, oh, Jane, thank you. Jane, you can find the registration link in the description of this live. Just click it to sign up. Yes, the link to the course, which starts on September the 15th, is in the description down below. So please, if you're interested, then go check it out, because the super early bird price finishes tonight, because why? Because September is coming, and the full we'll be charging the full price for the course pretty soon. So let me go to one last question. I said I was going to wrap up, but I've got more questions coming in. How do I know when to use the? Okay, the and a. I think I've gone through all of the questions. Oh, okay. There's another one that I missed from the conversational section. What's a better way to say? What's a better way to answer "How are you" instead of "I'm fine, thank you"? This is like, you can judge somebody's English level in 1 second when they answer you. When they answer the question "How are you?" when someone answers, if I say, how are you? And they say, I'm fine, thank you, and you? Then I know that they're a very traditional, they've learned English in a very traditional, textbook way, and they're going to have pre-prepared answers to most basic questions. To answer how are you in British English, we would just say, I'm all right, thanks, not bad, so far so good. There's very few English people is my microphone working? Yeah. There's very few English people that will say, I'm fine, thank you. In fact, if my dad asks my mum, how are you? And if my mum says, I'm fine, there is one thing we can be very sure, is that my mum is not fine. If my mum says to my dad, I'm fine, there's a big problem. Something is wrong with the situation, and my mum is not fine, because yeah, she's hiding some deep-seated problem or something my dad has done to annoy her or piss her off. So yeah, we never say I'm fine. What did I say? What was my examples? Not bad, so far so good. I'm all right. Maybe if you want to be honest, like you can say something negative. You can say, I'm under the weather, a bit tired. I'm struggling to come up with ideas of what to say, because usually the most standard answer is, I'm all right, thanks. How about you? Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. I think that's over an hour. I've had a great time answering all your questions. I know it's not the most Taiwan-based video. My channel is all about life in Taiwan, and this is more about the English course and how I can help you improve your English. But I just wanted to come and give you a bit of a connect back with some of the viewers, because my edited videos are a little bit slower in production recently. My special condition with my right hand is really slowing me down. I find it very difficult to edit videos with kind of 1.5 hands, 1.5 hands. So yeah, I'm just here to connect with you guys, and of course want to give you the opportunity to get in on the early bird price of the before September comes. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your questions. I'm going to leave this video up as a live a main channel video, so people can watch it at their own leisure. And yeah, great to see you all. I really appreciate your comments, your questions. I've noticed I've had a couple of emails. A few people have signed up to the course while I've been talking. Absolutely wonderful. I'm really happy to have you. I'll send you all a message online later. That's my work for the evening. But time for me to say goodbye. If you have any burning questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll get to them when I can. Bye-bye.